Hello, welcome to the Steam Release Podcast. I am your host, Dewey Bear, joined today, as always, by the delightful, by the lovely, by the cheerful Rhodey Pie.
Hello.
Bubbly, that was a better word. That would have been a bubbly word. But yes, welcome. And joining us, once again, it's been a bit, but welcome back. We've dragged him away from his workstation that he's probably sitting in his workstation right now, but
there's no escape of the workstation.
No escape of the workstation.
I'm locked in here. Please send help.
that little cube is, that's just where you live now. We dragged AffinityChris away from a bit of his development work to talk about games. So now he can, be critical of other people's work.
Yes, let's beat them all up.
Talk about all the indie games that came out this week. I'm quite excited. There were some really interesting releases. But before we get into that, let's just talk about what have we been up to as far as indie gaming goes. Our guest, Chris, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I was reminded, I think quite literally yesterday, that I got to get off my butt and play Narita Boy because the music is amazing. I backed that on Kickstarter, so I think that's going next in my list of what I got to play.
16.
But I decided I wanted to be in pain, so I've been playing Dark Souls instead. Which I'm now officially further than I've ever gotten in that game. Mm-hmm. So maybe I got good. I don't know. But it's less painful than it was the first time because I gave up.
A lot of people, and this is something my cousin says, a lot of people talk about how Dark Souls is so super difficult, but really, once you're just kind of clicks in your brain how the game works, you don't even have to be a particularly twitchy gamer in order to beat it. It's all about just knowing, okay, when the boss is that, he's about to do this, so just be ready to do this. And because the combat is not particularly fast, so it's just all about decision making. And
this might sound silly, but I think the thing that really made the difference for me was I decided to try using shields. I don't know why, but the first time I played it, I was like, two-handed weapons all the way. We're just gonna go in there. We're gonna chop everyone down. And this time I was like, no, I'm gonna use a shield. And I was like, wow, the game expects you to use a shield. That really made my life a lot easier. Holy cow. Why didn't I try this?
Yeah, I think big weapons are kind of hard mode. But yep. It's really cool when the whole being able to he's coming down with the hammer, he just put a shield up. It's like plink.
Yep. Well, that was the thing. There were so many enemies with that giant hammer that I'm like, there's no way a shield will do anything. And then it does. And I'm like, oh, well then. I guess that's just how this world works.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, there's not super tight balance in how each of the weapons work well. But yeah, that's cool. So are you going to be doing a chrono stream of Dark Souls then?
Oh man, I mean, I don't think yet, but it feels almost inevitable. It's definitely one of those ones that come up every single time we open up for chrono stream voting. Mm-hmm. Someone's like, we're going to make you play every Dark Souls game and you're going to suffer. And I'm like,
Demon Souls on. Yeah.
I mean, Demon Souls looks great too, so I'd love to play it. I played Bloodborne, so I got the itch for it now, and now I'm just hungry for more.
Yeah, with From Software, it's almost there's the Dark Souls series, but then there's all these other games that kind of are in the series as well. So that could turn into quite a long ordeal because they don't make super long games, but they're not really short. So
now, if we can find a way to figure out that Armored Core is part of that whole universe, done.
Alrighty. And of course, what's your most recent Chrono stream? I don't know if catch them lately.
Yeah, we've been doing Donkey Kong lately, which has been so fun. So just absolutely ridiculous. We were playing Donkey Kong Country 2 last night, and I thought I was good at those games. There's a turning point halfway through where they're like, and now you will die at the same spot. 15 times in a row before you figure out what you did wrong. And you're like, gosh, I thought I was good at games. But it's still fun.
Donkey Kong can be surprisingly brutal sometimes. Always surprised me. But all right, Rody, what about you? What have you been doing this week?
So I played and completed a couple of games this week. Oh, did you do the card? Did you do the card?
Oh no, I didn't.
No.
Yes, I failed. I failed you all. No. There we go. There's the card.
Yeah. So the first one I actually started like last week, but then I found a game-breaking bug, and that's contact the dev, and there was a bit of back and forth, and yeah. So the game is The Wild Case. It's one that we spoke about on stream, and it's a point-and-click game, but it kind of looks like one of those hidden object games. I think they've used the same engine as the hidden object games. It's okay. It's quite an easy point and click game. It's something that you can kind of just kind of relax to, I suppose. It's not too taxing, but it interesting story. But then the ending was a bit like, wait, what? The ending and the motivation, I would say, of the person doing the bad things was just like, what? But yeah, the game breaking bugs. So I was in like the second chapter, and this thing has autosave, by the way. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a bit of a break now. I'm gonna exit the game, and I hadn't just gone into a place and then just exited immediately. But I thought my game had been saved and everything, and it didn't save. It didn't save. When I went to where it said it has continue, I went to press continue, and it just kept like showing a moving train, which is like the thing at the when you log into it. And I spoke to the developer, and he says, "Oh, did you press new game instead of continue?" And I'm like thinking, I've played games before. I definitely am going to press the top one that says continue, not new game. So, but it was just, but yeah. So basically, he said I had to send him all with my save data and everything like that, and he says, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, it was in the middle of a save or something," which was kind of weird because I definitely didn't like just move to, as I said, didn't go to like a new area or anything like that, and then immediately log out. But apparently while I logged out, it was in the middle of a save, so it lost all my save data. But anyway, when you go to new game, you can like go to a particular chapter that you want to go to. So I didn't lose too much, so it was fine. But still, it was a bit annoying. But
the devs were in contact, like wanting to get fixed. That's good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The next one that I played was Mark and Lara Partners in Justice, and this one I played on stream with the Radio Tom, and I have got to give an infinite amount of apologies to Radio Tom, because it was, oh my god, this game was not good. It was not good, and I feel like I dragged poor Tom along with me on this, and it was just like, oh my god, because basically there's been what looks like a suicide, but you're like double checking because it kind of looks suspicious as well. And you're basically interrogating these two people to try and find the truth. And you've got to look through their personal details, like their records, this, that, and the other. And one person is playing Mark, one person is playing Lara, and they will have different information because they will be interviewing different people, and you've got to find the contradictions of what those two people have found. However, the first bit you had to kind of like join together. Spoiler alert! You had to join together like the two names of the school to when you put it in the search engine. And it was just like, it took us forever to figure that one out because it was just like, we didn't know what the game wanted us to do at first. And it was just, it's not, that first kind of puzzle was like not very intuitive. It was just, there was too much of us going, oh my God, like, what are we supposed to do now? Let's type in and look in this. And it wasn't fun. We weren't having fun, which is a shame. And it wasn't like this other detective board game that Tom and I have played before, and which was really full of intrigue and mystery and everything like that. This really lacked that. It really had it was lacking a lot of things. But but that's mainly what I've been playing. I've been continuing with Cozy Grove. Been enjoying that. Still frustrated with the lack of getting some of the materials as well. It's like I don't know. I understand that it's quite a slow-paced game, but it's also like I don't have a lot of the nicer items to craft. I don't have there's a lot of things missing, and I'm on like day 16 or something like that, and you just feel like, oh, okay, I guess it looks like stuff looks like this. It just kind of looks kind of samey as when I started. It's a shame really. But yeah, and also Sizable got an update with a new puzzle, and it wasn't just one puzzle, it was like three or four, and the theme was like space, and it was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. And they had like an extra puzzle that was the Colosseum level. So yeah, so much fun.
Yeah, this one seems to be a gift that keeps on gifting, because like it's still kind of short for $10, but they just keep adding content.
Definitely get it on the sale, which is what I got. I got it on the sale.
Yeah, that's really cool that developers will just keep updating. That's awesome. Just free updates. All right. As for me, so I didn't play much in the way of Gris this week. I do really love this game. It's still very contemplative and such, but I feel like I have to be in such a particular mood in order to play it, because I know that this is all about like feeling things in this game, and so I just have to be really in that space in order to play it. So if I'm not up to just feeling a little contemplative, I don't touch this game. So, but it's so beautiful. The music, the soundtrack is lovely, and I'm really excited to see where it's gonna go from here. So yeah, so I'm very happy with it. Very happy with it. I think I'm about 2 hours in. I don't know how long this game is going to end up being. I kind of don't want to know. I don't want to spoil myself, but it's feeling very nice so far. Besides that, what else did I do? Did a ton of Final Fantasy 14, but what is that game? Not Darkest Dungeon. I'm now completely spacing. ARPG I've been playing. It's called. The problem is it starts with the word dark. It's an ARPG.
Is it on your list in your library? It will be at the top of your list.
Grim Dawn. It's not dark. It's Grim Dawn. Okay, been playing. I finally picked up my old character on Grim Dawn. I had to jump in on a new character to remember how to play the game, But I finally got used to it and was like, okay, I'm gonna jump in on my old character because I already played all this story, and it still holds up. I'm enjoying it. I advanced through the story a bit. The story is still very much grim. So again, this is another one where it's like I have to be in a really good mood to play this game because otherwise it's just like, oh, the setting, it's so grim. I do like it a lot more than Grinding Gears games, Path of Exile. Because Path of Exile, they take grim, and there is no like end of the grimness. It just stays very dark and such. Whereas Grim Dawn has a lot of really beautiful areas, kind of autumnal, and it's got some, pleasant splashes of color in spaces. They've got some storylines where you actually rescue the person and they survive. There is some of that, but so it's not nearly as kind of oppressive. That's why I don't play Path of Exile. It kind of seems kind of silly, but it's just like it's just too dark. But this one has even darker storylines than Path of Exile, because you actually get emotionally attached to some of the characters, or at least have not emotionally attached, but empathy, because they seem very relatable, and then just horrible things ends up happening to them, and you're like, oh, that's really sad. But because it still has that kind of like optimistic thing going for it, you can have extremely dark events happening and still you're like, okay, this is fine, we're gonna push through this. So it's a fun game, and of course, being an ARPG, the combat is really great. The class builds are fantastic. So for those who are looking for that, and we'll probably just skip all the story text, it's also very good. So yeah. Okay, let me see. Yeah, that's all for me about what to play. Before we get into Catchup, I do want to talk about something that happened on Steam this week, and that is the announcement of the Steamdeck. So this was kind of a big surprise to me in that it's like, oh, so basically Valve just made a Switch. Because like the Switch, this has a mobile app, and it can be used mobile, but it can also be docked and then hooked up to your TV. So that's attractive to me because I'm going to be moving in with my brother soon, and I don't necessarily want to have to move my computer to be next to the TV, and then, so we can do co-op games. So the fact this one has a dock and I can just dock it in, and then we can play couch co-op, that's actually really attractive to me, and I'm quite interested, because with a Switch, if I buy a Switch today, it's $300, and I have no games. Whereas I get this, and I have games to play on it. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts? AffinityChris, especially as a developer, what are your interests in this?
I think it's great. I think that it's one of those like no-brainer kind of moves. Like, if Valve didn't do this, then what are they doing?
Yeah.
It's no different to me than Valve making their own VR headset, right? Like, this is the modern state of technology. Valve, I don't know if they ever officially released the Steam Box, their own like console.
Yeah, they never really did.
Yeah, so they dropped that project. So that's kind of what this turned into. And I don't think that the Steam Box was a bad idea, but I do think that for developers that only make games on PC, this now gives the potential feeling of playing a game console that plays PC games, which is a really big deal because as a developer, it's not easy to make games for consoles. So if this is basically like a PC and I don't really have to do any special stuff to get my game to run on it, that's so ridiculously cool that that's the only real competition I foresee this having on the console market. Because if developers are like, well, I'll sell most of my copies on Steam because everyone has the Steam Deck, then maybe I just won't put my game on other platforms because it's just not worth the development time. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that it at least helps merge that wall between those two. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't think that it's going to stop anyone from buying a Switch and playing Nintendo games. I don't think it'll stop anyone from getting or being mad at Sony for not being able to get a PS5. It's just another option, especially for people that only care about getting a computer to play games. Like, this is a pretty easy choice.
Yep. Nintendo fans are like, yes, please charge me $70 per game. And yet, you know what? I have to say I'm not immune to that. Like, Nintendo just has this kind of feel that they just get down. I mean, they have released some dukers lately, but eventually they're always going to put out some fantastic games. So,
oh yeah. Well, and for what it's worth, like, Nintendo gets away with it, I think, because they're stubborn and they're like, we will never have a discount ever. And I think that gives them a little bit more ability to push prices up when they feel that they need it. As a developer, I think that's fine. Like, I want my industry to be healthy, and things like Steam sales are arguably very unhealthy for the game development industry. So there's a weird middle ground that I feel like you got to push and pull and kind of find what feels best for everyone.
Yep. Yeah. What about you, Rudy?
I'm like, so it's like, definitely agree with like what AffinityChris is saying, but it's like, I would wonder where it would fit in with like what other people have got. Like, I would play like, well, if I'm out and about or something like that, if I wanted to play, because we've gone on holiday and we've wanted to play like our games, our Steam games, and we've just like played it on our laptop, not like an Alienware laptop or anything like that, but a mid-range laptop. So it just feels like, I don't know, it's I don't think I would have a reason to buy it, pretty much, because it's just like, I'm not sure where it would like fit in with what the stuff I've already got. So I'm curious, although it's like, for people that like to collect all the, maybe someone that gets all the consoles and all all the things, this is definitely a nice addition to that collection, though.
And if sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, it's like top tier is like £569, and I'd just rather get a laptop with that, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry.
Well, you can get a pretty nice laptop, especially nowadays. I think this is probably going to most benefit the people who play the sort of AAA Steam games like Death Stranding, Ghostwire, the really high graphical fidelity games, but don't necessarily have the money for a proper gaming PC or the space even, because this takes up a lot less space. Maybe they just have their laptop for work or whatever at home, and this, and you can there's a huge library of great indie games. I really dove into the pixel art and just like lower definition games on my laptop, and it was fantastic. I found so many great games. But for the really high end and high-end games, this seems fantastic. And just the plus is that you can also access all your other games. It's got and it's really flexible with the controls, and it even has a the screen is a touch screen. So even for games that are more like mobile, the mobile type games, they can fit in it. So I have to say, very tempted to put aside money for this eventually for just some couch co-op, as well as just, my brother's in the living room doing his own thing and I just want to go to my room. So yeah, get away from my office.
I was gonna joke. This definitely might appeal to dumb idiots like me that bought the Steam Link and found out how not great it was.
Yeah. So I've got the Steam Link. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I did like it and I used it quite a bit. But if I'm gonna go play games with Jen that are only on the PC, but we want to hang out in the living room, and I don't want to wheel my whole desktop out there. I tried to hook up the Steam Link and had spotty success with it just because bad Wi-Fi. So I'm like, this is nice because I could just be like, just gonna put this device and put it in the dock, and now we can play a game together without having to lug around a big piece of hardware.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I have a Steam Link as well, and I've had mixed experience with it. It works great for especially turn-based games and some more. It's not really good for twitchy games. Some action games you can do, but it's like action games that have like a 1 second cooldown in attacks or whatever. It's fine for that, but when for anything faster or like platforms and such, it can be quite frustrating. So.
Especially if you don't have a great internet connection.
Yeah. So I am really looking forward to this. But enough jibber jabber about that. We have a show to run. So on to our catch-up list. And starting off with the catch-up list, we're doing catch-up from September 8th through September 11th of 2021, and the first title is Midnight Scenes Episode 2 Special Edition by one of our favorite developers, Octavi Navarro.
In tonight's episode of Midnight Scenes, we follow Dr. Richard P. Griffin during the scariest journey of his life. Welcome to a dimension of horror. Welcome to Midnight Scenes.
Yeah. So are you, Chris, are you at all familiar with Octavi Navarro?
That name sounds so familiar.
You still got the Catchup thing on.
Oh, I do. Crap. Sorry. Scene. There we go. All right. So this game is kind of Octavi Navarro's take on the Twilight Zone. He's known for releasing pixel art games that are really eerie or unsettling. And most of them have been free up to this point, including, I think, wasn't episode 1 of this free?
No,
it wasn't.
No, this series is you have to pay.
This one's actually paid. So we had he was the one that did The Supper, which was kind of a macabre story involving cannibalism. But it was very short, overwhelmingly positive. And he also made let me see, the book lice. Oh no, that one's coming soon. But that one's free, and now he's starting to do more paid games, and it's been really impressive to watch.
I played both the Midnight Scene games because they do like a bundle as well. And yeah, the stories are just really great, really fantastic, and yeah, it's definitely that Twilight Zone story, and it's just. You have this sense of creepiness going on, things going on in the background, and knowing the characters can't do anything about it, no matter what, about their situation. It's really, really interesting. I really hope they do like another episode, because it's just super enjoyable. But yeah, but it is like really short. It's like maybe 14 minutes, if that.
That sounds perfect for me. I like my game short.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely. It's one of those ones that I would say, because I do play a lot of short games, and depending on how they are, obviously. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this to people to pick this up, because yeah, so enjoyable.
And it's less than a price, and you can get both games for less than the price of a coffee and a croissant. So it's only going to be about an hour, probably, between the two of them. But it's probably worth it, I think.
Yeah, the bundle is 10% off, £4.48. If you just want episode 2 by itself, is £2.89. And it's standing at 93% positive with 33 user reviews.
It's pretty good. But yeah, that's $3.99 USD, and of course with the bundle you can get it for $6.28. But I'm always excited to see Octavi Navarro in our show notes. Next up is Star Renegades.
Star Renegades is a dimension-spanning rogue-lite strategy RPG. Outsmart uniquely generated adversaries, forge bonds between heroes, and end the cycle.
Forgot this released. I'm so excited. Oh my god, I need to buy this and play this like ASAP.
Yeah, I'm in a similar position because this has been on my wish list for a while, and then I didn't notice when I was going through the like catch-up, and then here it is. I'm like, what? It's out! Oh my goodness. So I love how they do. You remember this Octopath? I don't think Octopath was the first to do it, but the whole like 3D, 2D thing going on. It just looks so nice. I love this. I love this style. It's just fantastic look to it. I find pink is a really interesting palette to run on for the whole like all the alien environments, because overall pink seems to be the color, which seems odd for like a dire like sci-fi drama game. Well, it's a strategy game, but it works. It kind of works. It's like it's like the anti-XCOM.
Yeah, it's like that neon sci-fi kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah.
I quite like the look of it. It does look spectacular. It looks really nice.
This is the team that did Halcyon 6, which I really, really liked Halcyon 6. It got a little bit of flack, but I backed that way back on Kickstarter, so I'm just excited to see that they keep kicking butt.
Yeah.
And it's standing at 85% positive with 1,405 user reviews, and recently, in the last 30 days, that's dropped to 78% positive with 74 user reviews. I wonder what the main criticisms are.
Yeah, because it's been out of early access for a bit, so I am kind of curious, but it's still that's not too much of a drop.
So it says this game that their criticism is this game has no ending. It is endless. It cannot be completed. So do not expect any sort of story conclusion. You'll beat bad guys in one dimension, then they'll pop up in another. Rinse, repeat. Okay, so I think they wanted a more of a stronger narrative. Conclusion.
There are 3 free content dumps, so I'm gonna have to really look into to see like how it ends. When was that review written? That was done July 18th, so very recently. So yeah, I am kind of curious. But yeah, Ravenquick, thank you for the sub. But yeah, that's Star Renegades. You can get it for $24.99 USD. So it's a big price, but for those looking for strategy, this may be very much worth it.
Yeah, it's £19.49.
Alrighty. Next up is Redneck Ed Astro Monster Show.
Very loading. Crisp combat mechanics, challenging arenas, hilarious storyline, and totally addictive and painfully familiar spot-on gameplay. Experience the thrills of fighting your way through the most bizarre villains in the galaxy and defend the honor of Earth in the space arena.
Okay. It's got a very interesting animated art style, just 2D animation. I'm not sure if I like the aesthetic or not, but there's clearly a lot of work went into this. I'm just trying I wonder if it's the frame rate that's messing with me or something.
I kind of like, I know what you mean, I kind of like it and I kind of don't, because like some of it feels a bit like Cuphead, kind of, but then I don't know, some of it kind of doesn't look quite right. Maybe it's the backgrounds don't kind of match what they're doing in the foreground, sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but it does seem to have some good combat, and it's mostly positive with 79 reviews. I'm curious what folks are saying about it.
79%, 24 user reviews. Yep. Yeah. Let's see. Scroll. Oh, good idea. Bad implementation. Just too buggy. I'd ask for a refund if it wasn't too late. Might be good when fixed, but the controls are super clunky and game bugs in a lot of places.
And a positive review was that there's, it's very wacky. There's many ways to die. The enemies are really weird. 15 levels with boss fights, but oddly interesting. So, yeah. So there seems to be some mixed sentiment on it, but overall positive. Yep.
Yeah, and it's £15.49. So if it seems a little bit much for something that needs patching here and there.
Okay. I was trying to see if this was part of a series because it has a subtitle and everything, but it does not seem to be, at least on Steam. So, I'm just trying to see. Yeah, okay, interesting. I've never heard of it. It's published by the Russian publisher 101XP. And yeah, it looks if you're looking for this kind of like 2D brawler, it's only single player, no multiplayer. Set in a weird alien world. I suppose that's Redneck Ed. Okay, any thoughts, Chris?
I think it looks fine.
Yeah.
I think the aesthetic is pretty cool. I think they nailed more or less what they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
I think the humor doesn't really resonate with me, but I could see why it would. I don't know why so many people fixate on like redneck as a theme. It's just never really made me feel particular. Like, it doesn't make me laugh.
No.
I don't know. Yeah. Redneck's just a weird thing to fixate on.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me, though. I don't know.
There is one really good one that's it's from the developers of Temtem. They made Crema. They made Redneck. They made Immortal Redneck, which is actually quite a good game. But, which is funny because now Immortal Redneck has 1,700 reviews. Before Temtem, like, it had like 20 reviews. Basically, no one had played it, and then they made Temtem, and now everyone's like, "Oh, what else did Crema Games make?" So, and now it's doing really well.
That's always good. It's always good.
So their first game got noticed because their second game. But yeah, that is that. So next up is As Far as the Eye.
Build a mobile village and travel with your tribe towards the center of the world, called the Eye. This rogue-like turn-based resource management game is made of procedural situations, natural events, skill trees, and hard choices. Ready to move?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's amazing. I just really like the environmental arts and everything, and it just looks so polished.
I feel like hex strategy games really help make the world look a bit more natural than, say, just a grid. With a hex grid, it just kind of feels a bit more natural, especially with the art, because it just seems a bit smoother. So it really works for this aesthetic. I also like the whole kind of plot line. Basically, like, I don't know if it's just flood, but basically the oceans are rising and it's creeping in. They're like, "Oh, we gotta move to a different area."
And you got to keep moving as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, this looks cool. It looks like it has the potential of getting fairly complex, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It just depends, I guess, on what you're hoping to get out of it. Mm-hmm. But it looks cool. It looking at it, it invokes a feeling in me of like, well, I want to see what all those hexes reveal to be. I want to explore.
As a systems guy, this progression wheel has me like really intrigued. I'm going, ooh, that looks fun. Looks really fun. I'm all for like branching progression when it comes to building up your strategy, etc. Because it does two things. One, it makes me have to replay the game like 20 times before I find the build that's really works for me. And two, it's just I'll end up like, even if I do beat it the one time, it's like I'll come up with a theory. I have a theory and I need to test that theory and see what happens. And so yeah, these that kind of skill wheel is a dangerous thing to have in the game for me. But yeah.
It's standing at mostly positive with 1,234 user reviews at 78%. And recent reviews again 78% with 33 user reviews.
That's really good.
And it's £19.49.
$24.99, which for me is a lot, but this game does seem to be pretty big.
Yeah.
I'll probably get many hours out of it. So I'm gonna add that to my wish list. I gotta check this out eventually. Okay, next up is I'm skipping one. Next up is I hit the wrong button. Vampire the Masquerade. Wrong one, not Bloodlines. Vampire the Masquerade. Shadows. There we go. Shadows of New York. There we go.
Your old life is dead and buried. You have no afterlife to look forward to, and your vampiric unlife is about to fall apart unless you solve an unsolvable crime. Welcome to New York City, and welcome to the Las Ombra clan, where failure is not an option. Las Ombra. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so this is part of the series of visual novels that the Vampire the Masquerade series has been doing, and it kind of goes in on more of the lore and the different like families and all their storylines, kind of preparing people for their new Vampire the Masquerade game. But it's made by a smaller studio, Draw Distance, and it's intriguing. I know I have some friends who were huge fans of the original Vampire the Masquerade, but at the same time, because they played the original game, they've not been particularly into jumping into the visual novel, because most people who played the original game were visual novel players. So, but I am curious about how well it's doing. According to the reviews, it seems to be pretty okay, though.
Yeah. It's the thing with visual novels. It's like you're not sure how well it's gonna be until you probably dive in yourself, pretty much, because I've played some really fantastic visual novels and like some absolute stinkers, and I've had people say, "Oh no, this is really good, and yeah, I really enjoyed the story," and it's like, no, I hated it. I mean, they're very difficult to sort of gauge how good they are. But this is standing at 79% with 443 user reviews, and recently it's 70% with 30 user reviews, and it's £10.29.
Yeah. Well, let me see. What is
I'm not sure how long it is.
I'm seeing 6, 5, 9, 7, 3, 9. Probably depends on how fast you read.
Yeah, or maybe around about 6 hours. I've seen a lot of people with 6 hours, so yeah.
So that seems probably about right. I do like the kind of. It's hard to describe this art style, but it's Polish like, to me, like the art style that they do.
It's like oil painting.
Yeah, oil painting. Okay. Yeah. Because I know a lot of Polish artists that this. I suspect some of them got hired for this because the style is very similar. But it's really lovely. Okay.
I think what I'd be curious is how anyone that plays the tabletop RPGs feels about games like this. Because that was my experience, and I didn't care. I don't remember if it was Masquerade or Requiem or whatever version of Vampire I played, but this feels like it probably feels closer to what the tabletop RPG expects players to do, where it's more intrigue and vampire bloodline family things, and I'm just like, I don't care. I want to just go on an adventure.
Yeah. It's really fascinating that this franchise has such different demographics as far as the people who play it. There's the people who like the interactive video games. There's the people there's the people who like the visual novels. And there's the people with the tabletop games. There's got to be some overlap, but I feel like there's probably not that much overlap. So, because it's just three very different groups that, yeah, there's a lot of people who do all three, but you're still going to have a huge chunks of those demographics that are just like, I'm not really into a visual novel, or, you know, and I've talked to all sorts. So it's an interesting franchise when it's like, each of these groups have a very different view of what Vampire the Masquerade even is. So
yeah, it's funny. I feel like a lot of games that are published by White Wolf, which is the one that does the tabletop games, I feel like a lot of their games go through that. Hunter went through that because there were the Hunter games on like PlayStation way back when, and totally different pools of people probably played the RPG versus the video game, and it's the same thing here. So it's so weird that this is like consistent with their whole like umbrella of stuff.
Yeah, it's really strange getting all those kind of different genres all come like together. It's because I'm not. I'm interested in picking up the visual novels, but probably not the other versions of the games. So yeah.
Alrighty, next up is A Monster's Expedition.
An adorable and relaxing open world puzzle adventure for monsters who love to learn about humans.
It's a lot cuter than I thought it would be with like A Monster's Expedition. No, it's a little puzzle game with this egg thing. It does look quite darling though.
It's cute. It's a
Oh man, yeah, they've made some other really notable puzzle games. I recognize both those others that just flashed on screen.
Yeah, I played the Cosmic Express, which was fantastic, and I really like the animations for that as well. This one looks a bit similar. The character looks a bit similar to a Good Snowman. And actually, the tagline, it says, "A good snowman is hard to build," and this is like, I don't know, the character just looks similar, very similar.
Oh, they've got fast travel. That's so nice. When it comes to these sort of puzzle games that have big maps, like, you know, Carto, for example, you can be way over here doing a puzzle, and it's like, oh, I'm stuck here, and the solution is you have to just go somewhere else, and then you have to travel all the way there. And this one is like fast travel. It's like, yes, anything that like lets you do that is really nice for these kind of large puzzle worlds. So yeah, Draknek is known for their other games, including Cosmic Express, which you feature on the show, Good Snowman, and Sokobond, which, wow, they really came a long way, because like Sokobond came out in 2014, was just very graphically simple. As you can see, it's just you know, squares and circles, and then they ended up going up to much more graphical, and it's been neat to kind of see their artwork develop over time. Their next game is Bonfire Peaks, so I look forward to it. Oh, that's good. Rado Tom gives a stamp of approval. It was challenging but fun, Cosmic Express. All right. But yeah, that's A Monster Expedition. You can get it for $19.99 USD. All right.
Let's see, sorry. Yeah, it's £15.49. And overwhelmingly positive with 581 user reviews at 96% positive, and recently 91% positive with 24 user reviews.
Okie doke. Next up is Inertial Drift.
Forget everything you know about drifting. Inertial Drift tears up the racing rulebook with an innovative twin-stick controls, completely reimagined driving mechanics, and a roster of fiercely individual cars.
Let me see. This one, let me see. Is this like required? It's twin stick controls. They do say full controller support, but they don't say controllers required. I'm going to assume you're going to want to play this game with controller, though.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it.
It does look really nice. I like that. So a lot of games go for hyper realism on the cars, And then the environments are just kind of meh. But this game seems to have really gone like, let's tone down the cars to more of a cel-shaded look almost. They got those thick lines, and that way the cars really do feel more like they fit in the environment. Because it's very easy to make hyper-realistic looking cars, because it's a metallic, it's just a kind of metallic smooth lines thing, so it's very easy to do that, like Forza. But then, you know, the environments just kind of look like meh. But here they kind of make the cars and the environment look like they fit together.
Is this an indie game?
It's published by P-Cube Limited, Level 91 Entertainment.
Oh, they did Arcane Spirits. Well, they published, I should say, published Arcane Spirits.
Yeah, okay. The reason I ask is because with racing games, you can't make, at least I could be wrong because I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think you can make your vehicles look like any real cars unless you get like agreements with those manufacturers. So like, I'm curious. I don't know anything about cars, so I'm like curious. Did they just like design all these cars to kind of like look reminiscent of real cars and just they're not? Or did they like have to get a deal with all these other manufacturers, you know? It seems like a huge undertaking for an indie studio if that is the case.
Yeah.
So a lot of these cars are somewhat old cars, but some of them I think they have like kind of fake like logo names on them, because none of these cars are brands that I recognize. I mean, I'm like, oh, that looks like that looks like a Camaro, but it's not called a Camaro in this game. So
maybe they're skirting the line. They're like, oh, it's definitely not the same thing. No way.
No. It was inspired by, but no, it's not the same. Like that, yeah. So they've kind of like done a bit of. It looks like they've done a bit of bootlegging, but like changed enough, so it's no, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it looks
what
cool.
they've done.
I think the thing about games like this that really make me wonder is like, do people like drifting in racing games? That's the part that I hate the most. So whenever someone makes a game like this is all drifting, I'm like, but that doesn't sound fun.
I can't.
To me?
Yeah, I can't say I've personally known anyone who's like super into drifting, but there always seems to be a game mode that is drifting. And when I worked for like Forza, there was like a bunch of drifting stuff that we had to do. So, yeah, so it's clearly has some demographic that's looking for it, but I don't know. I know drifting's really fun when you're actually in a car. That's
fair.
It's fun when you're not it's fun when you're on a proper controlled racetrack and not on the road. That's when it's fun to drift.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously picked up an audience or resonated with an audience. It's standing at 91% positive with 341 user reviews, and it's £16.99. Yep.
Now on to the release list, starting from Tuesday, July 13th, where the first game is The Chameleon.
A tense stealth game with superpowers, set in the 70s, filled with glorious fat pixels. Transform into enemies, dash, teleport, slow time, and super punch your way through this moody retro stealth game.
Ooh.
What's going on?
they're very much going for the retro look. I think they're quite successful at it, though.
That bit you shimmer when you're changing your disguise or something like that. That's quite interesting.
I kind of love this.
Yeah. You're a mustachioed man in a Hawaiian t-shirt. Best superhero costume.
My fear with any game that tries to mimic old retro like aesthetics, though, is as soon as things like game physics or game feels too modern, it tears itself apart, and it doesn't really feel like a polished experience. It just feels like it's just trying to use that visual element. And I've seen this with a good handful of like retro horror games that use the low poly stuff. So I'm curious if this game nails that feel or not. but it looks fun. I do like the way that it looks too.
Yeah, it does look quite fun. I like the style. I will be honest, when I was going through the release list, I kind of had to look at this game for quite a while to decide, like, all right, the frame speed is nice. I was just kind of debating, like, okay, are they doing this because it's cheap, or are they doing it for proper aesthetic reasons? And ultimately, I decided they were doing it for proper aesthetic reasons. Of course, they are taking advantage of modern techniques like lighting and physics and such, but...
For what it's worth, I would argue that if you're going to go for a retro aesthetic, that like a low poly one, the answer is probably both a production reason and an aesthetic reason. Because, you know, with lower poly stuff takes less time to develop and also will work on more computers. So it sometimes is just the smart choice if you're a small team.
Yep.
But you can still love that choice.
Oh. Yeah, and that's the thing. It looks so very intentional. It all seems to fit together. There's a lot of like low poly retro stuff on Steam that is I wouldn't want to call it retro because it's like, look, this doesn't look like a game that I would see on the shelf back in the 90s or the 2000s, whatever era they're trying to replicate. But this one does kind of look. That said, I do forget sometimes. There were an awful lot of real Duker games that came out back then, but we don't talk about those for a reason. But yeah, so that is the Chameleon by Merlino Games. It does have 90% positive with 22 reviews as the first game on Steam by that developer.
And it's 10% off right now at £6.47. Yeah, it just looks really interesting. I'll be curious to watch someone play this actually on a stream or something, because I'm not a fan of actually playing stealth games, but you know, I think I could watch someone play this. Yeah. Yep.
All right, next up. And yeah, it's $8.99 USD. Next up is Cranked Up.
Cranked Up is an offbeat and challenging platformer game where you control rocket-powered donuts, trying to save the world from an evil pizza.
Sounds like some of the game pitches that I heard back when I was in college for game design. Just very wacky.
So I guess the goal is ultimately to get your donut into the cup, the mug of coffee.
Yeah.
All right, important question. Have any of you legitimately dipped your donuts in your coffee and enjoyed it?
I have, but there's only one variety of donuts that's for that. It is specifically the coffee donut, which is a very dry it's a cake donut. It's a very dry cake donut that's not very sweet. And it doesn't have any sugar or anything on it. That is what I dip in my coffee. But any other type of like donut, you're crazy. Like, just know, it is the coffee donut or no donut.
That's legit. That's legit.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I have tried, and yeah, it's this like, I think like a sugar ring donut or something maybe. It works okay. Something a bit, plain. But yeah, no, I'm British. It's not really breakfast I want to have.
Yeah, I do really. There's just like, and I feel like it's because I'm, I don't know, an old soul or something. But a lot of the less sweet donuts, the sort of like dry cake donuts, they've seemed to have fallen out of fashion, and that makes me really sad because like that was my childhood. Was like because that was the type that my dad would always get. Would be the dry, the dry kind of cakey, just not very sweet, almost like bread, but a little bit sweeter than bread. And it's sad when I go to a donut shop and there's none of the plain donuts. I was like, oh, they're all these like super soft, and those are nice in a way, but if you dip them, they just become goop. They just disintegrate and just meh.
That was pretty much what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, I'll dip my old-fashioned donuts in coffee, and I love that it adds the coffee to the donut, but then I hate what it does to my coffee.
Yeah, you can't drink your coffee now. It's got all these little.
See, here you dip your biscuits in your tea, and that's like definitely a good vehicle for a hot beverage. I feel.
Do you have those Britannia biscuits?
No, not that I've seen.
So
no,
I think it's an Indian brand. So we have them imported here, but they're called Britannia brand. They're from India, and they're so good. They're so crispy, so you can't eat them dry. You have to dip them in the coffee, and then it's like fudge. It's so good. But anyhow,
yeah.
We've cranked up. Looks fun. We've not been talking about it because all we've been talking about is donuts and cookies. But
it's like, but yeah, it's 100% positive with 11 user reviews, and it's 20% off right now at £5.75. And yet this looks fun. Looks just like something like you could pick up and play really quick. Play for a bit and then put down and pick up again. It looks quite fun. But I do wonder how many like levels there are. This says there are hidden levels in this.
Yep. Yeah, and the aesthetic's fantastic. I love how there's just something always going on in the background that you're probably not going to pay attention unless you're watching someone else play, and then you're kind of looking at stuff in the back. Yeah, I love that touch. All right, so and it's by BBlack Studio, which it's their first game on Steam as well. Next up, from Wednesday, July 14th, we have Overpower.
Destroy your enemies in this competitive medieval arena brawler.
Oh, this is early access.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
We'll talk about Overpower again later when it's not in early access. Sorry, I didn't notice. I did not notice that it was early access. But what sometimes happens is they'll release it and realize there's issues, and then they'll put the early access tag on. So, or something like that. Not that I'm accusing anyone.
I don't know if Steam lets you get away with doing stuff like that.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen weird stuff like that before.
They have limits, but
oh yeah, no, I've seen like games that have been released and then gone back into early access or gone into early access because there's been like issues or something like that, or they're working on it again.
Yeah, I could see that if you initially launched in early access. I guess I don't know because I've never actually worked on a game that launched that way, but I know the platforms get really picky about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's probably my mistake, but I've definitely seen kind of odd stuff like that. But yeah, that's that we'll skip that one for now and talk about Overpower another time. Now, Thursday, July 15th, we have Wonhon.
Created by a solo developer, Wonhon is a paranormal stealth action and tactics game about a young Korean girl killed in a military conflict and returned from the dead to exact her revenge.
She can possess soldiers and force them to
I've seen a lot of Korean dramas, and there's at least two I can think of where this is the actual plot. So if you ever watch a Korean drama, you will always get to the point where you realize that, oh, this is a revenge saga. Like, all of them. All of them eventually become a revenge saga. So it's kind of, this definitely has a very, very Korean feel to me. And it's, they're kind of, due to history, I don't know how much they go into specifics on this. They seem to be kind of not direct, at least in the description, they're not directly talking about which war this is, but anyone who knows about Korean and Japanese history probably know that they're at least evoking from a certain period in time between Korea and Japan. Yeah. Also, some of the translations are really bizarre in the description, so...
After death, it looks really interesting, though.
Yes, it does.
I stayed to save those who are still alive.
So nice and some simple arts, and
the deaths of the others.
But I'm not a stealth person. But I mean, are you guys? Do you enjoy a good stealth game? What would you say?
I'm also not a stealth gamer, but I do love the sort of Korean mythology aesthetic. They have their own version of the Shinigami and the God of Death. And no, that's not fair. It's not really its own version. Korea does have its whole separate mythology from Japan. There's things you can go like, oh, this is kind of like this in Japan, because they do have histories that overlap and cultures that overlap. But Korea just has a mythology that doesn't get explored a lot in the West, and a lot of people are kind of unaware of them if you haven't consumed Korean media. And so I'm always excited when these kind of levels of sort of pre-industrial Korean culture and mythology come up, and I really like that. So,
what about you, Chris?
I was going to say... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No. I was going to ask Chris, are you a stealth player? So do you play a lot of stealth games?
I'm real picky about my stealth games. I don't hate them. I don't generally seek them out, but usually when I'm in it, I love it. So, like, the game mechanics of this don't excite me, but what Dewey's describing does. Like, I totally agree. I'd love to, like, explore narratives like that. So to me, like, that seems worth it to kind of learn stealth mechanics and to deal with the stress and anxiety that comes with it. I guess it really boils down to also, like, how fair is the stealth? There's plenty of, like, old stealth games like Siphon Filter or not Siphon Filter, Splinter Cell, things like that, where it's just like, they saw you through 2 walls and you don't know what you did wrong. It's like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, it seems like it's giving you the information you need to, like, perform reasonably well, which seems more fun. So I think that looks good.
I do like how they give the character multiple different skills to approach things like, so you can possess people, you can then have your own body, and then there's your spirit form. There's all these different approaches that you can make, and you can specialize in different ways. And there also seems to be a story that is very, very dark, as to be expected. Wonhon is developed by Busan Sanai Games, and is published by Super.com, which also published Alchemist, but I really hate it when it doesn't take me to the developers page, because I'd like to see what else is by Sunai Busan, but Busan Sanai. But yeah, it looks neat.
It's 20% off right now at £9.91, and it's stunning at mostly positive with 73%, with 23 user reviews.
All right, next up is Raptor Boyfriend.
Raptor Boyfriend, a high school romance, is a dating sim about a teen girl who moves to a small secret community of cryptids. Romance a magical fairy, a sensitive Sasquatch, and a bold Velociraptor. A satirical 90s teen drama about trying to find love in your last year of high school.
I feel like you can finish each one of those sentences with, as one does.
Yeah. Oh my god. I love this. I really love the way it looks. I like the idea of it as well. But I'm kind of the character though that is a bit like a wallflower though. It's like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of like tired of that kind of trope. So I really am.
Yep.
Oh, but yeah. Otherwise, it looks very charming, and I'm curious about. I'd be curious to play this actually.
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of other people who've talked about it and played it, but yeah, I know this isn't my space. I'm not a visual novel player that much, especially not romantic visual novels. I'm more into visual novels if it has like a big lore and story and world that's building, and this one's more about just the person, and I'm not as into that.
About you, Chris?
Oh, sorry. I keep talking over you.
No. It's alright. It's alright. I was gonna say, are you ready for romance, Chris? Would this be something you would be interested in?
I'm always ready for romance. I'm gonna date that Velociraptor so hard. I mean, like, I fully support visual novels and romance games or like dating sims. Like, I totally support them being silly. Like, I think it's great. I was won over by a hatoful boyfriend so quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, give me more, as many as you can lay on me. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, love that, and I really like Dream Daddy as well. That's such a great game too. So yeah,
it's good.
yeah. And it's the thing, something that I really like because although it's like I like visual novels, if it's like tons and tons and tons of text, like you're having to read like massive paragraphs and everything like that, and you're not really moving the story along, you know what I mean? You feel like you're really having to read too much. I've had to deal with a few of those, whereas this looks like quite light on the text, which I appreciate, and you're getting to more like what's actually happening with you're moving the story along, which I quite like.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say it's 15% off right now at £9.34. It's standing at 100% positive with 14 user reviews. Sorry, D, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was saying that's also why I like the story so much more in Final Fantasy 14 as opposed to like other MMOs, where they'll just give you a wall of text or no text, whereas they just give you these little bite-sized bits of text. It makes it very easy to keep the story moving forward.
Oh, did you play that the raid though that they did, the big story raid?
Oh yes, the near raid. God. The plot just kept going.
Oh no, the one before that, the one in the last expansion, and it was just like
that was even worse actually. Yeah,
that was terrible, and it was just like trying to read it, but they was just like, no, forget it. I can't be bothered. Click.
I liked the near raid more just because I liked the characters more. Whereas that family, I was just like, I don't care about these people. They've not given me a reason to care for these people. Well, the two little dwarves in the near raid, I was like, ooh, no, no, let me protect you. All right. Anyhow, Friday, July. Enough about Final Fantasy 14. Next up, Friday, July 16th is World for Two.
Oh, did you give a price? I don't know. I'm not sure.
That price, it was $11.89 on sale.
Traverse stunning pixel landscapes, collect resources, and solve genetic puzzles to bring life back to the desolate planet. Play as an android created by the last human in existence to retrace evolution and save the world from mass extinction, while discovering the true weight of the human condition.
Yep. So this is like a sort of DNA sim, which is really neat. I also like the whole idea, like you're working with the last human, and then the last human dies, and now you're the android. Well, I don't know if the last human dies. I don't know if they say that, but you're trying to bring humans back. That's kind of neat.
This is kind of cool.
I'm curious about this. Yeah. Sorry, Chris. Carry on.
I was just going to say, you gotta love that parallax scrolling in the environment, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of... It's so pretty. Like, these kind of, like, just kind of flat plane, with the parallax background. Like, I'm thinking the Kingdom games. It's just very, very pretty. And it seems so well done. I thought there was some, like, FPS jittering, but that was just the video you load. But yeah, it looks so nice.
I'm curious about the gameplay of this. So are you just exploring around? You'll find like an animal or creature or something, and then you kind of like get a DNA sample from it, and then you know, is it like a collector game? And you go back to the lab and say, look, all the ones I've gotten in this area, sort of thing. Is that what's happening?
So
here? I don't mind that.
You have to solve puzzles so you gather this. So here it says, gather natural energy from star flames and then DNA from living creatures. Once you've solved puzzles to understand the genetic patterns, to continue your creation, upgrade the lab's technology with star flames to unlock new biomes and resources. Be prepared for the emotional burdens that creating life brings, and that all things must have their end. So through trial, create them all through trial and error. Discover and create a unique 60 creatures. Start with a lowly amoeba and end with brightly colored whales and manta ray. Perhaps there are creatures beyond. Mix and match to complete the genetic tree and retrace evolution. Travel across 4 uniquely colored and distinctive biomes: bog, forest, dunes, and ruins. Each with their own creatures and soundtrack. So, yeah.
It sounds like a pretty good game then. I'm like, I like puzzles. I like the sort of collector element to it. You're going out and you're collecting like all the DNA samples and everything like that. So yeah, I'm interested in this.
There also doesn't seem to be any combat, so it's described as a relaxing game, and yeah, it seems to just be puzzle. So it's a non-combative game.
Oh, that's great. 10% off right now at £8.99. There's only 5 user reviews, so we haven't got a score.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's kind of interesting that they're taking, because a lot of games that like to tackle this topic tend to be very simulatey and very like, but here they're like applying almost a sense of magic to it all. so they're making it feel sort of magical and whimsical when they're covering a scientific topic, and I love it because that's the base of sci-fi. You take science and you kind of make it fantastical, and they're sort of doing that. They're not trying to be like necessarily, I'm sure there might be some educational content in this game, but they're not necessarily trying to be educational. They're just trying to tell a story. It seems really cool. It is 10% off at $12.59 USD. Only 5 user reviews so far, and is developed by 7th Rank and published by P-Cube Games. All right, next up is Creepy Tale 2.
Experience the creepy tension of a Brothers Grimm fairy tale in this puzzle adventure game. Follow the young and brave Lars as he embarks on a dangerous journey to save his sister's mind from the clutches of a mysterious evil.
So I wonder which story this is based on.
Unless they're trying to just like embrace the themes of Grimm fairy tale kind of narratives.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. So they're not doing a specific one, but yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff from the Brothers Grimm.
But the first game did like incredibly well. It got it was stands up very positive with over 1,000 user reviews. So yeah, this follow-up, I hope it gets picked up a bit more and is enjoyed a lot more. It's standing at 90% positive with 55 user reviews, and it's 10% off right now at £7.19. I'm not sure how long it is though.
I think a lot of these games they end up with kind of a bit of a slow pickup, because especially when it's number 2. So it comes out, it's got pretty decent reviews, but most of the people picking it up now are people who've already played the first one. Whereas people who see this are going like, oh, I wonder what the first one's like. So
yeah, true.
That's probably a bit of the situation here. But hopefully the folks that played the first one have gotten notified. So
yeah, I mean, point and click game, that's always an interest to me. I haven't played the first one, but maybe I'll give them both a go. You can get them in a bundle. I think. Oh no, sorry. I thought that was a bundle, but it's for the original soundtrack bundle.
All right, yeah. That is Creepy Tale 2. It is 10% off right now and is $8.99 USD. Right. Next up, Saturday, July 17th, we have our final game of the week, Toroom.
Toroom is a dungeon crawler rogue-like top-down shooter where the protagonist just wants to come back to his bedroom after waking up in a world of fantasy. Fight your way through multiple biomes, clear rooms full of enemies, get as much loot as possible, and defeat the bosses in your own way. In your way, sorry.
That's kind of a sweet premise. So you're basically just in a dream, and so that kind of makes sense. It makes sense of the lore as to why you can die, because you just wake up and you go back to sleep, and then you're back in again. That's kind of nice. I love the style. It's so cute. And of course, I'm really into roguelikes. I don't know if I'm into roguelike likes, but But it looks sweet. It looks very sweet.
I think my only feeling on it is I'm not crazy about dreams being a theme because it feels a little bit like a band-aid of this is why everything is sort of hodgepodge. Like we have Santa Claus and bunnies and all these other things that don't really necessarily make sense side by side.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fine. I just feel like it's not a very clean theme.
Yeah.
But the gameplay looks fun. Solid action roguelike kind of experience.
To me,
or twin stick shooter almost.
It all kind of depends on how the balance is, how the process is. I'm curious how long it's gonna take to, because I've seen some people with really short, like an hour or something. But I'm wondering how many runs, if that's because a lot of people with these games, they do like 1 or 2 runs and then they review it. But I'm really curious how much longevity it's got. Got to see someone with 10 hours, but yeah. So I am very curious. It's 30% off right now with $8.39 though, and it is 86% positive with 15 reviews.
30% at £6.50. Yeah, not bad.
I recognize the developer, Gagonfe. Gagonfe has also done, or Gagonfe has also done Gemini, Colorful Color, Bob Help Them, Gagundle, None Class Puzzles, and Wizard. I think we talked about Wizard.
I think we spoke about Bob Help Them as well, because I picked that one up. I haven't played it yet, but
I remember Bob Help Them. I don't know if it's because, of course, Toroom is also developed by Ulan and Rousley, but I do notice that the art style of Toroom it's greatly improved from the previous games. The previous games were bad looking, but it does seem to have just a more professional sheen to it. But yeah, that's Toroom. Yeah, it looks great. Any thoughts, Chris?
I would probably give it a shot. I think it lives or dies based on how fun the loop is, honestly. I see way too many twin stick shooters that you just kind of constantly are just running backward, shooting at them, dodging left and right, and it's fun for maybe 30 minutes, and then you're like, cool, this is just the same thing over and over again. And that's fine. You can enjoy that, but I'm at that point with my roguelike twin stick shooter action games that I'm like, I kind of want something a little bit more interesting.
All right. Yep. And okay, and with that, that's our whole release list. So the question comes to the really difficult question: what was your game of the week? So, who's ready to go?
I can go.
All right, Rhodey.
So yeah, I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna maybe pick a couple from the Catchup list, and I'll pick one from the this week's release list. So from the Catchup list, I definitely, as far as the eye, that's like, oh, I'm sorry, on the screen, I'm like over there.
Oh no, you drifted.
Drifting. Yeah, sorry.
No
It's
problem.
like, I'm as far as the eye, it looks super interesting. And I like that kind of exploring and it's possible like kind of like choosing where you want to go when you're encountering the random encounter can happen, and you've got it. Yeah, this ticks so many boxes for me, and I'm very, very curious about it. The other one from the catch-up list, I would say a Monsters Expedition. I did like the Cosmos Express or Cosmic Express game from them. So yeah, I'm quite curious as I might have as much fun with that. And I just like that the way it looks is just super cute. It's really well done. I really like it. And then from this week's release list, I'm gonna have to go with Raptor Boyfriend. It is just such like a cute visual novel. Yeah, it's I'm very I just liked the way it looks at everything, and the characters seem like quite charming. Not sure about the main character though, if I will get like really annoyed with them, but you know how these things go.
Alrighty. What about you, Chris?
Sure. So from the catch-up list, the easy winner for me is Star Renegades. Yeah. I'm hyped. I'm going to buy that game and I'm going to play the heck out of it. It looks beautiful. I love the theme. I love the aesthetic. I feel like the reviews that were negative were nitpicky on systems, which I might just complain about myself, but I'm still going to have fun, dang it.
Yeah.
But I really can't imagine a world where I'm not going to enjoy this, at least to, moderate success.
At the beginning of every round.
Is this an instant buy right now, or are you going to wait?
I'm going to wait, not necessarily for a sale, but maybe for a paycheck, because I spent too much money at the Video Game Summit this last weekend, and I bought too many retro games.
Oh, no. I need to find out what the whole, like, sort of scene here in Dallas is like, as far as, like, retro conventions, stuff like that. I need to find that out.
They're way more fun than they should be. I'm like a kid in the candy store being like, I could just buy all these Super Nintendo games and Sega Genesis, and I'm like, maybe I'll even find a Philips CDI game here. I did not, but I found Virtual Boy stuff. It was real tempting.
Wow.
All right, Star Renegades. What about from this week?
From this week, I'll go with the Chameleon. I felt like there was something about it that struck exactly the right chord with me. And that's not that it's nailing the retro game aesthetic, but weirdly it feels like it's nailing an 80s film narrative very, very well. Maybe 70s, maybe 80s, but it's that like Chameleon. Like there are absolutely movies that have the same exact idea of like the chameleon is going to change into one of us and we will never know who they are. So it's like a role reversal where now this guy is the chameleon and we are them, and I think it's cool. I actually would love to explore this one and kind of see how it plays.
Yeah, I do. It's got style. Let me see. For me, from the catch-up, you already brought it up. Star Renegades. That's my top game from the catch-up. Although, as far as the eye, is a very close second. So far we're all in agreement. The one game that's a real standout for me from the release list, because I think this week the catch-up kind of outshined the release list. I think this week, but I think World for Two. I'm really interested, especially because this is kind of hinting at almost a sort of emotional narrative going on as well with the android and the last human.
Yeah,
I kind of want to play it.
I put this on my wish list, but yeah, I'm very curious about this. This was a close, like second, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a runner-up for me as well, without a doubt.
So yeah, World War II. And of course, chat, let us know what your favorite games of the week, and of course, comment down below, folks, on YouTube. But before we say our farewells, I just want to let AffinityChris let you all know where you can find him. I can speak.
Sure. So you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/AffinityChris. I do chrono streams, so play through entire franchises in chronological order. We're doing Donkey Kong and the Jak and Daxter series right now, and we're about to reveal on Monday, what the next chrono stream will be.
Oh, so you had the poll on is it like a subscribers poll or just a viewers poll?
It's a subscribers poll. It's not meant to like make people subscribe, but more to reward the people that are helping keep the channel alive.
Yeah.
But take it however you will. But yeah, I let them decide my fate within reason on what I'll be doing for the next year of my life on Twitch.
You get through them a lot faster with the year usually, unless they decide to do like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that would be like I'm gonna die before I finish that one.
Yeah, congrats. You have 16 mainline games and 20 Alex side games to get through.
Oh yes.
So
outside of Twitch, you can find me on Twitter at AffinityChris with 3 S's. Or you can follow my professional work at Iron Galaxy, which is, where I make big beefy games.
Yep.
Nice.
Actually, I was just about to bring up DACA Squadron, but it doesn't come up when I search in Iron Galaxy. All right, I need to.
Well, DACA Squadron was Phosphor, so I've changed jobs.
Oh, okay.
Since I last was on the show.
Oh, you're at a new company. Awesome. Awesome. All right, I'll have to look into Iron Galaxy and see what they've made. So let me see. Rhodey, what about you?
You can find me on twitch.tv/RhodeyPie. Hopefully I'll be back to playing some more FMV goodness. It's like, so, hope you can join me, keep an eye out. But you can find me on here every week. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel for the podcast. And also follow us on our curator page, just here.
Okie dokie. And of course, I want to thank everyone who showed up, and to the folks on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and bye-bye!
Bye, take care, bye. Thanks for